Uh, okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Usha Kizhakekara, and about to present Green Stories. The problem everyone's very familiar with. If you live in California, if you live in Canada, if you live in Brazil, you've seen the fires. If you live in India and China, you've seen the floods, the ocean warming up and, hurricanes and floods and tornadoes. So the reason for all of this is greenhouse gas emissions, the most prominent of which is carbon dioxide. Okay, so it turns out that software companies are also contributing to the greenhouse gas emissions. And I'm trying to reduce the carbon emissions using our software to compute, first make people aware of where they are by computing the scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions, which includes like supply chain, companies' emissions as well. So that, and along with that, SEC had started mandating that companies report their carbon emissions every year, starting 2024. So the time is good. The time is ripe for something like this, and thanks to ChatGPT and OpenAI and everything out there, it's become so simple. Hopefully, I mean, it was simple for me to create this model, thanks to Greg and Chris as well. So yeah. So US is actually very late to the game. Europe is way ahead of us. They've had the policies in place for almost 4 years. Ironically, it turns out that, I mean, we talk about fossil fuel in cars, but it turns out that a neural network is like way at the bottom over here. The big red thing that you see is actually from a neural network. 626,000 pounds carbon dioxide. Yeah, so the carbon proxies that I'm looking at, some of the carbon, there's so many of them, but like 5 of them, just to give you an idea. All the unused, trillions of unused bytes every day traversing the network. Bitcoin mining, there's a lot of computing happening, a lot of idle time on the servers. And the servers are like thousands of miles from the users, so they're traversing all these millions of thousands of miles, not millions. But and then we have the long compute jobs. The big companies like Google and Meta have their sustainability arms, and they have lots of people, taking care of this for them. But the small and medium-sized companies cannot afford to have a sustainability arm. So that's where we come in. So our solution is to create green software. The software will compute the carbon intensity of the software product and generate this 50-page SEC report. There are all kinds of organizations. There's TCFD and there's GRI, and there are all these reports you need to create if you have business in the European countries as well. Okay, so the AI models will help us simplify some of the supply chain emission calculation, will help us create all the recommendations from all the thousands of millions of lines of policies that people have to pour through. So that's where AI comes in, and will also help us measure, track, and help, hopefully over a period of time, reduce carbon emissions for every software company. So by way of partnerships, we plan to partner with companies that are already submitting documents to SEC financial statements. So in addition to which, now we'll need to submit ESG audit. And our vision is to make software green and help companies reduce greenhouse gases. Okay, so the business model here is to do monthly subscriptions. Here's where we fit in. we have all these organizations, TCFD, CSRD, SEC, that want all the reports from various companies, and they want it every year now. And the small and medium software companies are just getting into it. The accounting firms need a sustainability arm, and we're hoping to come in here and be of some use there. Okay, so here's how it works. The small and medium small and medium software companies will subscribe to our API. We'll do the intake, get all the data, create this assessment, that with all the documents that they provide by way of electricity bill, expenses, suppliers, etc. All this will go into our model. We'll compute the scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, create this 50-page report, and get all the recommendations, and help them manage it over a period of time. Okay, so every month they can look at what progress that they've made, what progress they've made. Okay, so here's our AI model. We do an intake to start with. The application will do that, and we get this assessment that we feed along with all the climate data, policies, and corpus to the model, which will chunk it up, which will vectorize it, put it in a vector DB, create the context for the prompt, which will be the assessment. We feed that to an OpenAI model and generate recommendations to start with. And after this, we hope to generate the reports as well. We made it a little simple. We wanted to push purchase. I wanted to push this purchases document as well, and do a SQL retrieval and have an agent combine the two. I'll do that next time. So here we are. So this was the input to the model. We found out that CNN, every time we go to CNN, there's like hundreds of almost 100 megabytes of data be getting downloaded. Half of it is not used, and all this data is traversing the network. So sent this to AI model, the OpenAI chat model, and here's what it came up with. It said, first reduce all the assets and reduce the size of the assets, remove all unused data. I thought it was pretty good, actually. Came up with some really good recommendations. So here's what we did in the backend. We used GenAI, RAG models, and the front end we're using Chainlit. So the conclusion is, yes, we can use all these models to create this very, very complicated 50-page reports, provide recommendations for reducing carbon. We can use AI to hopefully simplify all the carbon emissions calculations, which is extremely complicated. And yeah, now hurricanes don't have to see eye to eye anymore. So that's all I have. I'll open it up for questions.